You just got a raise. The offer letter says $172,000. You feel good. You feel seen. And your company has already decided you are going to stay underpaid for the next 5 years. Not because your performance is lacking. Because of 4 mechanical locks built into the system before you signed anything. The raise is real. The trap is also real. And the math behind it is exactly what HR is hoping you never run. Most employees know their number. Almost none of them know where that number sits inside the range their company built around it. That gap between your salary and the midpoint of your band is what compensation professionals call your compa ratio. Right now, there's a good chance yours is sitting at 0.87, which means the market says you are worth more than your employer is paying you, and the architecture of the system is designed to keep it that way indefinitely. Let me show you the 4 locks. And then I'm going to give you the 2 words that trigger the one conversation most employees never know to ask for. Here on Paycheck Playbook, we spend a lot of time on the mechanisms that feel invisible until someone names them. If that kind of work is useful to you, subscribe. It is the best return on your attention you will get today. Now let's start with what a salary band actually is. Every role in a company of any meaningful size has one. A senior engineer at a mid to large tech company might have a band running from $145,000 to $220,000. That is a $75,000 range inside a single title. New hire offers land at the bottom third of that range by default. Not because you negotiated badly, because standard practice is to anchor new hires near the band minimum, not the midpoint. The gap between those 2 points on a typical band is 15 to 20%. Companies save that difference on every new offer. It is not personal. It is architecture. Here is what that looks like on a graph. Picture 2 bars side by side. The left bar is your offer. It starts at the bottom. The right bar is the band. It towers over your offer, with the midpoint sitting roughly 15 to 20% above where you landed. That space between your bar and the midpoint of the band is money the system acknowledged exists, then quietly kept from you on day 1. And what I call the BAM lock system is the set of 4 mechanisms that keep that gap from closing on its own. Lock 1 is the anchor. Your first offer sets your baseline for everything that follows. The system opens at band minimum, waits for you to negotiate upward, and if you do not, the anchor is set. Everything that compounds from there compounds from a low starting point. Lock 2 is proportional drift. Mercer surveys more than 800 organizations annually to track compensation budgets. Their data shows the average merit increase in the United States is 3.3%. That sounds like progress. But here's the mechanical problem. A 3.3% raise lifts your salary. It also lifts the band midpoint by roughly the same amount as companies update their ranges to match market data each year. Your compa ratio barely moves. A senior engineer earning $155,000 with a band midpoint of $182,500 has a compa ratio of 0.85. After 5 years of 3.3% raises, that salary reaches $183,000. But the midpoint has also drifted to roughly $216,000 with market movement. Compa ratio is still 0.85. You ran 5 years, you moved nowhere relative to the band. I know what you were thinking right now. What about promotions? That changes everything. Lock 3 says it does not. When you get promoted from senior engineer to staff engineer, you move into a new and wider band. But where do you land in that new band? At the bottom. Standard band design places promotion hires at the lower end of the new range. The title changes. The compa ratio percentile resets. You celebrated a raise. The system gave you a new box with the same structural position inside it. Lock 4 is the one nobody talks about. Your manager does not set compensation in isolation. Compensation budgets cascade through organizations tied to team-level median compa ratios. A manager whose team clusters below band midpoint looks like a cost-efficient operator to their director. A manager whose team sits at midpoint gets less budget flexibility in the next cycle. The incentive structure rewards managers for keeping compa ratios low. Your manager may not be consciously aware of it. The system is designed to reward them for staying conservative whether they think about it or not. Now I want you to picture a different graph. 2 lines, both starting at the same point on the left side of the frame. One line is the band midpoint for your role. It moves upward slowly as market benchmarks update each year. The other line is your salary. It also moves upward, same general direction. But the gap between the 2 lines does not close. It stays flat or widens. The midpoint is the ceiling you never see because it was never on your offer letter. Your salary is the floor you thought was progress. Both lines are climbing. The distance between them is the band trap. That distance is not small. Take that senior engineer example. Band minimum 145,000, midpoint 182,500. An employee anchored at 155,000 on day one after 5 years of average merit raises reaches roughly 183,000. The midpoint after the same 5 years of market adjustment is closer to 215,000. The gap between what they earn and what the band acknowledges as market median for their own role is roughly $32,000 per year. That is not a rounding error. That is a car payment you are making on someone else's behalf every single month. The natural objection here is that performance reviews fix this. They do not. Standard performance review cycles work inside the proportional drift framework. They award a percentage of current salary, which keeps the comp ratio approximately constant. WorldatWork, the Global Association of Compensation Professionals, documents this explicitly in their merit matrix guidance. High performers below midpoint receive larger percentage increases than peers to help close the gap. But the default merit process, without a specific comp ratio intervention, allocates the same percentage across the board, which Mercer themselves describe as the peanut butter spread and call outdated precisely because it perpetuates existing pay gaps. The legitimate counterargument is job hopping. Switch companies and you negotiate from a blank slate. New anchor, new band, no drift history. Research consistently shows that employees who change jobs increase their salaries faster over a 10-year window than those who stay. That is a real option. But for people with kids in school, a partner with location constraints, or equity vesting in the next 12 months, it is not always the right move. The protocol I'm going to give you works from inside your current company. And for a significant portion of people, it delivers results that rival or exceed what switching would get them. Here is what most employees do not know exists. Companies have a formal internal process called a comp ratio review. It is not a vague conversation about feeling underpaid. It is a specific, documented mechanism used by compensation teams to benchmark employees' salaries against band midpoint and external market data. When you use the term comp ratio review in a conversation with your manager or your HR business partner, something specific happens. You signal that you understand how the compensation architecture works. You are not asking for a raise based on tenure or feelings. You are requesting a formal benchmark of where you sit relative to the market rate for your own role. That framing changes everything. It triggers a specific internal process. HR pulls your comp ratio. They look at your position within the band. They compare it to external market benchmarks from sources like Mercer and WorldatWork. If you are below 0.90 comp ratio with solid performance history, the numbers make the case without you having to argue it. The gap between 0.87 comp ratio and 1.0 on a $172,000 salary is roughly $23,000. That is not a negotiation. That is a correction to where the system's own math says you should already be. Pay transparency laws have created a second tool most employees have not started using. California's SB 1162 requires employers with 15 or more employees to post salary ranges in all job listings. Colorado's Equal Pay for Equal Work Act has required the same since 2021, with amendments expanding requirements in 2024. New York State's law has been in effect since September 2023. Washington's law since January 2023. That means the band for your current role or a comparable role at your company may already be publicly visible in job postings today. This is what I call the band map. Your salary divided by the posted band midpoint equals your comp ratio. If you work in a pay transparency state and your company posts a range of $145,000 to $220,000 for your title, the midpoint is $182,500. If you earn $163,000, your comp ratio is 0.89. That number is not an argument. It is data the compensation system is already measuring internally. You are just introducing it to the conversation in the language the system is designed to respond to. Here is the protocol. 3 steps, executable this week. Step 1 is to find your band. Go to your company's careers page and search for your current title or the closest equivalent. If the range is posted, write it down and calculate the midpoint. If your company is not in a pay transparency state, search competitor job postings for the same title. PayScale and similar compensation platforms publish median ranges by role and metro publicly at no cost. Step 2 is to calculate your comp ratio. Divide your current salary by that midpoint. If the result is below 0.90, you have a documented case. If it is below 0.85, you have a strong one. Step 3 is to request the review by name. Email your manager and your HR business partner in the same thread. Keep it short. Say that you want to schedule a comp ratio review to make sure your compensation is aligned with your band and current market benchmarks, and that you are happy to share the external data you have gathered ahead of the meeting. No apology, no preamble. The term comp ratio review signals competence. It forces the process into a formal framework that HR has budget authority to execute. Here is the reframe before you go. Your salary is not a reflection of your worth. It is a reflection of where you anchored on your first day, compounded by 4 mechanisms that move sideways faster than they move up. The band lock system is not malicious. It is architecture. Companies built these structures to manage payroll across thousands of employees simultaneously. The comp ratio review exists specifically to catch employees who drifted below market. The fix is built into the same system, creating the problem. Most employees just never learn the name of the door. That $32,000 gap is not a raise you are asking for. It is the number of hours of your life per year that you are subsidizing a company that built the correction mechanism and counted on you not knowing to use it. 1 email. 2 words, a number that was yours all along. Drop your comp ratio in the comments. You do not need to share your full salary, just the number. If enough people run this, we get a real picture of how widespread the band gap actually is. I am Drew, and I will see you in the next one. The information in this video is for learning and entertainment only. I am not a financial advisor, and nothing here is meant as personal investment advice. Please do your own research before making decisions with your money. Some voice or visuals may be AI assisted, but I personally review and finalize everything, Drew.